Okay, Velo News fans, Leadville 100 is coming right up and I'm getting ready for the big race. If you've watched my first two videos, you'll know that I got a crazy idea to do Leadville on this 1983 vintage Specialized Stumpjumper. I'm doing it for fun, but I'm also doing it to prove a point that you can still have a good time riding a bike that's kind of got some outdated technology on it. You could maybe do a race on it. You maybe don't have to do Leadville, but you can still get out, mountain bike, have a good time. So I've been riding it, I've been preparing. I got to admit, I'm kind of missing a high-tech bike. It's just a rough ride when you're on a rigid bike with 26-inch wheels. So it got me thinking, what are the 5 best mountain bike innovations of all time? So here they are, according to me, of course. Let me run through them for you. Number 5 on my list is suspension. Rigid fork, hardtail. It's very bumpy when you're on a rocky trail. You lose some control, you lose some traction when the wheels are bouncing around. Comfort, of course, it's not as comfortable. Suspension makes a big difference. And things have come a long way since the crappy old forks that they first invented back in the day. You know, back then mountain bikers were a little skeptical of suspension, but nowadays it's a must for practically any kind of riding. Now, number 4 on my list, brakes, disc brakes. Disc brakes are so much more powerful than cantilevers, as you know, but they also are easier to control, which is great on loose terrain, muddy terrain, wet terrain, and furthermore, cantilever brakes are a real pain in the neck to adjust. I don't know if you've ever bothered, but towing them in, getting it so they don't squeak as much, and you know, sometimes you have to sand off the brake pads if they get glazed up. It's a headache, and I'll tell you, modern disc brakes, I miss them a lot. Now, number 3 on my list is clipless pedals. Wait a minute. Aren't I cheating? I kind of am. I've got clipless pedals on this bike for Leadville. Can you blame me? It's 100 miles of racing. I'm not going to be riding toe clips for that. I'm definitely not going to be riding flat pedals for that. Clipless pedals, huge innovation, not only for mountain biking, but for road riding, any kind of riding. You got to have clipless if you're doing it seriously. Number 2 on my list, tubeless tires. Now you might think, well, shouldn't suspension be farther up the list? Well, for my money, tubeless tires accomplishes a little bit of what suspension can do. You run them at a low pressure, maybe 20 PSI, and they help to take the little bumps out of the trail for you. A lot better traction, and also it's much easier to prevent flat tires with tubeless, as I mentioned in my last video. Go check it out. The number 1 innovation on my list, shifting. I know that's a little boring, but if you think about your average mountain bike ride, you shift a lot. There's undulating terrain, there's climbs, there's sharp corners, changes in speed. You have to be able to shift quickly and easily. And when you got these Sun Tour friction shifters that are on this bike, it doesn't happen. You're trying to find the gear, miss shifting, dropping a chain. It's hard to shift into the granny gear. It's a pain in the butt. Modern shifting is great. You know, the SRAM Eagle setup, Shimano's Di2, for instance, both of those totally foolproof, much better chain retention as well. Shifting, number 1 for me. Did I miss some on this list? Hey, maybe I did, I don't know. Some people might say 29er wheels should be on the list. I agree, 29er's faster. It's what I ride on my modern bike, I'll tell you that much. But I think overall it doesn't change the experience quite as much as some of these other innovations do. What about a dropper post, you'd suggest? Gotcha. I already have a dropper post on this bike. It's the old Height Right. Yes, they came up with the idea way before anyone started routing cables through their frame for a Joplin or for a Reverb or any of the modern dropper posts. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the quick release combined with a little spring like that is better than a hydraulic trigger, but it does accomplish a similar feat. All right, well, Leadville's coming right up. I'm gonna head up there, and of course, I will have the full race report afterward for all of you. In the meantime, stay tuned to velonews.com for all cycling related stories, and thanks for watching.